Good morning, everyone. For the purposes of this all over the place ramble, I'm just going to use my webcam. There's a couple examples on the screen I'll show, but like most of it'll be just like any normal ramble that I do, where you can put me in the background and keep playing World of Warcraft if you so desire. So, I just woke up from about 8 hours of sleep, much needed, because I just went through a craft fair at my market that it was very draining because of the night before. You can see here on this Facebook page for this Facebook event, I had 77 people say that they were going on Facebook alone, right? And if you've never led anything that has 77 people going to it, I do encourage you to do whatever it is you do, and do it at least that well. The actual foot traffic for the day was 170. And that is actually a step down from the last craft fair we did. But, as you can also see on your screen, the forecast for my craft fair was mostly cloudy, 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is something negative in centigrade, and I believe during the craft fair it started off at around negative 2 degrees, and when I went home last night it was negative 4 degrees, but of course it probably jumped up to like positive 9 degrees. But that really hurt the traffic flow of my craft fair. Nevertheless, people showed up, right? What was draining about the craft fair was the preparation for it. And this is where the ramble goes on a tangent that you guys are just not going to expect. Because this is a story of, for want of a nail, my kingdom was lost. Right? My kingdom wasn't completely lost here. I mean, having 170 people show up to anything is an achievement in and of itself, right? But I had some help. I had a lot of help, actually. It was well publicized, and after 4 days of freezing temperatures, which is key to the rest of the story. 4 days of hitting 0 degrees in a row, people were feeling cooped up, finally getting that cabin fever where they had to get out and do something, even if it was 0 degrees, because you just can't live in your house forever. So that helped, that it wasn't just that day, that there was a whole bunch of days leading up to it that were 0 degrees. What didn't help was the effects of the government shutdown in America. Now, this ramble is a little off of, like the reasons for it. I know that in my own community, there are plenty of people who believe that it was the right thing to do for a certain core group of Republicans to shut down the government, because they needed to bring awareness of Obamacare and what happened, right? And they're like, yay, we're going to teach everyone how much this is going to affect small businesses, right? Well, my market is a small business, and in the lesson of teaching people, hey, Obamacare is about to happen, look into why we're doing this, look into why we're protesting and shutting down the government, because if they were going to do something about it, they should have done it when the law was, being crafted, and they failed then. So this is like a last ditch effort to just like bring awareness, right? In my opinion, I'm sure that there's other political angles to look at it, but it was largely ineffective, and all it did do was bring a little bit more awareness of the changes of Obamacare to the American public. All right? That's my summary of what it achieved. But what it also achieved, particularly in my city that is surrounded by 5 military installations, is it laid off half my city for a month. Some of those people are still not back to work because of logistical problems and getting people back to work after you shut the fucking government down. Another good portion of my city that was not laid off, like directly by the government, were security contractors for the, Fort Carson and the Air Force Academy and NORAD, that aren't counted in those numbers. So a huge chunk of the working population of my city was out of a job right before Christmas shopping season, and some of them still out of a job a month and a half after the government is supposedly back up and running. And those that do have their jobs back right now have a pile of paperwork on their desk and a bunch of overtime that they're allowed to work. Well, are they out shopping? No. They're working overtime. They're not spending their time shopping. They're working overtime because that's how they're going to get a whole bunch of money to pay for all of their friends that are asking them for their money because they're seeing, oh, you're working overtime? That means you might have a little bit more money. My family is starving. Could you help us out? So, with everyone helping everyone out, nobody has any money in the whole fucking city. Alright? This is the nail in this want of a nail story. Okay? So, a bunch of businesses go out of business. If you followed my Facebook page, I was very sad that my friend Jason Golden, another like-minded, free-thinking individual who does a lot of steampunk art, he had to close his store called The Verve, which was in Old Colorado City right across from Bancroft Park. It's another part of Colorado Springs. And that really saddened me because he had very unique art, and with foot traffic up and down Old Colorado City, which is basically West Colorado, it's a street, and there's a whole bunch of places that should be zoned as houses, but they're zoned as markets and shops. So people walk it up and down that street and they buy stuff. It's like an outside mall. There's no foot traffic whatsoever for all of October, right? And so anybody who was to the point after these hard economic times after 2008 that was basically to the month-to-month point with their business, they failed. It's a ghost town, Academy Boulevard, one of the main thoroughfares in my city and where my market is, half of the buildings are empty. Okay? And there's a lot of people that would like to be entrepreneurs, but in a climate where you start up a business and nothing happens, and you try your best, I see businesses start up and then they go out of business within 6 months. I'm lucky to have just made it to that 6-month point with my market. And I almost feel like you buy into this American story, this American fable of if you work hard, you'll succeed. Well, I work fucking 12 to 14 hours every fucking day, okay? And at the end of 6 months, after working 12 to 14 hours every day, and then coming home and probably doing an hour or two of homework for my business every day, what I feel like is the world telling me, oh no, we gave you that story as a kid that if you work hard you're going to succeed. But actually what we really meant was, if you work hard, you're going to earn a ticket for the lottery of success. Because it's still just a chance on whether you're going to succeed or not. I know, you worked hard all this time, thinking that it was actually success at the end of the tunnel. But no, it's actually just a chance at success. Sorry to break the news to you. So, that's the feelings that I have behind this ramble today. So, government shutdown happened. Businesses don't have any money because there's no money coming in. Because for 2 months, I've seen it in my business, not many people are shopping, even though it's Christmas, right? And I imagine this story right about now feels like Detroit light, okay? But it's happening all over America, and I think that it's very important for everyone to get on their fucking webcams and make a YouTube video about it. And when you see something, say something, Something's very wrong here. And now we begin the want of a nail story. Government shutdown causes a whole bunch of businesses to fail. One of which is in the shopping center that my market is in. My market is one of a couple different stores all in the same building. One's a Texas T-Bone Steakhouse. One's a Big Lots. One's a Loaf and Jug with a gas station connected to it. One's, it used to be a church, but they moved to cheaper accommodations. One's a Korean restaurant. One's a beauty supply store. And there's a liquor store and a check cashing in advance store, which I don't really like that, but there's a whole bunch of stores in this shopping center, and I have a very large market as part of this building. Well, on one side of the building, there was a bar called the Red Dragon. The Red Dragon didn't get enough business because of all these circumstances, so they shut down. And they didn't tell the property manager that they were going out of business and had no money to run their business. They couldn't pay their electric bill. Now, when you have a shopping center like this, when somebody leaves the shopping center, they need to tell the property managers so that the property managers will assume payment of the bills, because there are a couple bills that need to get paid, one of which is the electric. Now, why is the electric so important? Well, when their electricity was shut off for just their store because they didn't pay it, because they had no money because of the government shutdown, a weather system came through whereby for 4 days in a row we hit about 0 degrees. Now, what happens when you have no heat in a building and the entire section of a building freezes? Well, pipes burst. Wouldn't you know it? So, a bunch of pipes burst in the Red Dragon, causing, gushing water in there that nobody knew about because they hadn't been there for 4 days. And the water found a way into, the floor, and then the building next to them, or the store next to them, was Big Lots. But the water didn't go into Big Lots' main floor, no. The water went to down below, which on the other side of the building where the loading docks are, that's where my market is, on one side of the building. On down the way, there's loading docks, and that's where Big Lots keeps all of their furniture and their shelf supplies that they restock with. And basically, all of this water dripped down there and hit the foundation, the cement slab on the bottom story, where nobody goes down there unless somebody's buying something like a piece of furniture, which doesn't happen in a government shutdown, so this wasn't caught for a long time, like 4 days. So the whole place gets dripping from the roof of the bottom story of the Big Lots, dripping and freezing all over the place, and pretty much starts to look like a giant cryogenic chamber or Superman's lair. Okay, it was bad. And then there was a connecting hallway to where that church that I mentioned that moved out, that I made a video about a couple weeks ago. There's a connecting hallway that actually was heated and just had a pool of water, a little lake in there, when I saw it. And that water had started to seep into the worship area that the church had and get into the carpet and everything. And from that worship area, there is another set of rooms, and then there's my market. Well, fast forward to today, I am just getting out of a good, nice long sleep, because the day before my craft fair, I get notified that some of the area that I was going to use to put vendors into in order to have this craft fair was not going to be usable because sucker trucks and large Zamboni-like steam cleaners were going to be going into the building right next to me. Right? So I have to move some of my vendors into floor spaces that I do not have because we were packed to capacity. And I get this notice the day before my craft fair. So I'm working to make space in my craft fair. I'm taking some of the permanent vendors that I have and condensing their stuff for just one day, which I'll be uncondensing a little bit more of it today at work. And I made another 7 extra spaces to handle the whole sucker trucks in my parking lot during my craft fair, and Zamboni giant machines in there creating a lot of noise. So I was up till about 1 at night making enough spaces in the main part of the market to still go ahead with the craft fair that over 50 vendors were coming to. And then I barely got any sleep. I wake up and I have to go open my market to let the vendors set up for their craft fair. I had to open it early. So I was really, really tired for the whole craft fair, which, of course, I was there until 9 o'clock that night after opening my door at like 7 in the morning. I slept really well last night. And then, to just put the cherry on top after the icing on the cake, haha, on the day of, we get a couple cancellations from vendors who don't want to be driving in the snow and the freezing weather. One of which, she was a vendor all the way from Fort Collins, so I completely understood. You do not want to drive through Castle Rock, with snow. No. I completely understood her. But, there were a couple of people who flaked. And there were just enough that flaked that I actually didn't have to make that room. We actually had enough vendor spaces to handle the craft fair, but I wouldn't know that until the morning of, when people canceled and said, we can't make it for whatever reason. We had just enough spaces anyway. So I basically was put in a position, because the government shutdown has led to businesses closing, which led to electricity being shut off, which led to pipes bursting in a flood in my shopping center. I've been put in this position where I had to spend hours and hours of my time not marketing my store, but reacting to factors out of my control. Okay? It's hard enough for me to market my store in the middle of all this shit where no one has any money. And nobody wants to be hearing any sort of sales pitch for anything whatsoever. But when shit like this happens, you know, and it's because of the same cause, I think people need to hear how bad it is. Okay? There are buildings that are going to go into dilapidation because nobody's checking them when the power runs out, because that businessman folded and is trying to not contact any of his debt collectors for things like, hey, you might want to go assume the power. You know, there are buildings that are probably going to have sinkholes underneath of them because of this, you know, and structural damage. We're going to have like 50 more Detroits pop up across this country because of this government shutdown. And you know what's keeping the shoppers from warming up to buy anything else? The fact that Congress kicked the can down the road just far enough so that they can do it all the fuck over in January, thinking, oh, well, at least we saved Christmas shopping season. You have to give us that much credit because we love small businesses, right? No, you fucking don't. No, you fucking don't. If you're even having this looming over the head of my city, where they think that another government shutdown is likely to happen, because in January you have the option again to scare people. No, you don't fucking care about businesses at all. All right? So, I'm going to leave you with a happy note here. It's kind of a funny story. This is the part where I'm actually going to show you something different on my screen. This is my last two paintings. I had a little small canvas, so I thought about what could I paint that's really, really small, because it was cute that I had that little small canvas. So I painted something small, Mighty Mouse, and I've done two Marilyn Monroes in the last 4 days, right? I didn't sell one at the craft fair. I sold a Batman and a Joker at the craft fair. But before I posted this picture to Facebook, I told Brian, my good friend in the UK, that I wanted to paint Marilyn Monroe, and I did it, right? And he said that he wanted to buy Marilyn Monroe, and he wanted to buy my Doctor Who painting that I posted a while back, and I still have that one too. But I had never shown anyone a picture of this Marilyn Monroe painting that I did, right? And I told Brian, fuck no, you are not buying my Marilyn Monroe painting sight unseen. Because it's shit like that that makes Jackson Pollock happen. Okay? Fuck no. But now that I've posted it and people have seen it, it's for sale on the wall of my store. So just thought I'd leave you guys with that thought. It's a little bit happier than my For Want of a Nail story, where I lost a considerable amount of sleep and marketing time for my store.